Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadi Asyo Yato Nayat Itrashatas Tatseva Abhinchana Swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Ati Kavya Muhyantiya Suraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisago Mishra Damana Seva Sada Nirsata Kukam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Hare Krishna, is somebody going to do the English?
Hare Krishna. O my Lord Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusionary representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusionary representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Hare Krishna.
Text 2. Dharma prajohita kaitavo tra pranamo nimratra nirmatashranam satam vedyam vatsvam atra vastu sivadam tapa taryona mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Pare Ishvara Sadhyo Ridyo Avarudhyate Tra Kritbihi Surbihi Stat Krishnat.
Translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva, in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Text 3. Nikma kalpataror galitam phalam Sukha mukhat amrita driva samyutam Pibata bhagwatam rasam allayam Muhu aho rasika bhuvi bhavuka.
Translation. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls.
Text 4. Naimesha nimisha shetre rasya sonkadyaha satram sarvagaya lokya shashara samam asita.
Translation. Once in a holy place in the forest of Naimal Saranya, great sages headed by the sage Saunaka assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees.
Text 5. Ta ekta tu munya pratarhata hutagnyah satkritam sutam asinam prapuchar idam adarat.
Translation. One day, after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Sutta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters.
Text 6. Rasya ucha tavyaklu tavyakulau purananani seti shasani gangaha akhyatani api adhihatani dharma shastrani yani uta.
Translation. The sages said, Respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures, famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and the histories as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them.
Text 7. Yani Veda Vidam Shresto Bhagwan Padrayaneha Anya cha Munya Suta Parvara Viddo Viduhu.
Translation. Being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Sutta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead. And you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge.
Text 8. Vedatvam Somya Tat Sarvam Tatvatastad Anugrahat Pruhu Singadasya Shishyasa Guravo Guyam Apiyuta.
Translation. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them.
Text 9. Tatra tatrana jana tatrana jasya yusman bhavata yad vinichitadam pumsam ekanatha shreyas tannaha samistitum arhasasi.
Translation. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general.
Text 10. Prayenalpayusha sabhya kalva asmin yuge jana manda sumanda matyo manda bhagya ye upduruta. Hare Krishna.
Translation. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. It was very nice. Bhagavatam Sanskrit is actually a bit tricky for many even scholars. So we've done really well. Thank you so much. So we'll go to the verse for today. And that is 116. So I will chant some prayers. I will read the verse once again, synonyms, translation, and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtapayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 6. Rishaya uchuhu Tvaya khalu puranani setihasani chanagha akhyatani apyadhitani dharma shastrani yanyata. I'll read one more time. Risha uchuhu Tvaya khalu puranani setihasani chanagha akhyatani api adhitani shastrani yanyata. Synonyms. The sages, Uchuhu, said, Tvaya, by you, Khalu, undoubtedly, Puranani, the supplements to the Vedas with illustrative narrations, Sa Itihasani, along with the histories, Cha, and Anaga, freed from all vices, Akhyatani, explained, Api, although, Adhitani, well read, Dharma Shastrani, scriptures giving right directions to progressive life. Yani, all these, Uta, said. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The sages said, Respected Suta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life and in the Puranas and the histories as well. For you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. Purport. A Goswami or the bona fide representative of Sri Vyasadeva must be free from all kinds of vices. The four major vices of the Kali Yuga are illicit connection with women, animal slaughter, intoxication, speculative gambling of all sorts. A Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasasana. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana who is not spotless character and who is not freed from the above mentioned vices. He not only should be freed from all such vices, but must also be well versed in all revealed scriptures or in the Vedas. The Puranas are also parts of the Vedas. Histories like the Mahabharata or Ramayana are also parts of the Vedas. The Acharya, the Goswami, must be well acquainted with all these literatures. To hear and explain them is more important than reading them. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Hearing is called Shravana and explaining is called Kirtana. The two processes of Shravana and Kirtana are of primary importance to progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. Jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam.
So this is given in Bhagavad Gita also, that one should do everything in a right manner, completely right manner. Having discussed this, we go to the last topic of the four, which Krishna was going to describe here in this chapter in relation to three modes, and that is fourth one is charity. About charity, I would like to say, give you some stats. There is something called CAF, called Charities Aid Foundation, and it did a survey of a huge survey, where they cover almost 1.3 million people, 13 lakh.
वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Kuntal Mother, you are the host now, so if you can control the mutes. Okay, so my humble request is, if you're not speaking, please go on mute. Thank you. Okay, so we are on the 6th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam today. Thank you very much, all of you, for coming this evening on a Sunday evening to read and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. We do Bhagavatam in the morning, Bhagavatam in the evening. So as we chanted in the beginning, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, it's every day. Nityam means every day we do Bhagavatam. Sevaya is like we're serving Bhagavatam by reading and trying to understand. And as Prabhupada has also said, one of the qualities of Srila Sutta Goswami, that he's not only gone through them under proper guidance, he's also explained them. And Prabhupada explains in the later part of the purport, to hear and explain them is more important than reading them. So we're all reading every day. That's very nice. But Prabhupada's instruction and Mahaprabhu's instruction is that we also explain it to someone. We repeat what we read. We only repeat. We do mananam, so we do shravanam, we hear it. Reading is also hearing. And we do mananam, which is like reflecting upon it. And then we do kirtanam, so we repeat to others. If we do that way, it goes into our hearts and it becomes more solid. The knowledge becomes self-realized. After certain times we repeat and we try to bring this knowledge within our life, then it becomes part of our character. And that is the quality of the great sages, and that's their compassion for us in a way, because only because of their compassion we have access to this great literature, and only because of compassion of Srila Prabhupada, he really made it accessible to all of us. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, even if we knew the Sanskrit a little bit, or maybe more. A lot of scholars have struggled to interpret exactly what is meant in the verses. But this is only can be understood by one who is close to Krishna, or close devotee of Krishna, because he knows what is meant, like in Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. There's analogies I was hearing from someone who is saying, like coconut can be in so many forms. So we drink coconut water, there's coconut oil, there's coconut that's used in the puja havans, there's coconut used in the coconut chutney. This is only when it's all contextual. So the meaning is very difficult for an ordinary person who's outside of the main scene. For example, someone in the kitchen cooking, asking for coconut, you don't bring them the coconut water. You know what they're asking for. You bring the coconut, you know, the powder or the grated, all that. Similarly, someone in the puja, he asks for coconut, and we don't give them the grated coconut. We give them the full coconut. Why is that? Because the one who is sitting there, only that person can understand what is meant. So similarly, someone who is close to Krishna, close to his devotees, they can understand what is meant in these intricate words of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita as well. So that way we are very fortunate that Prabhupada has given it even more easier for us. And through the Guru Parampara and the senior devotees we hear, it becomes more and more accessible to us. So that is the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have had so many discussions previously about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, so we're going to start that. But this is in the previous verse, it's established that Sutta Goswami is the most appropriate speaker for the Sabha, or for the assembled sages who are sitting there for 1,000 years of sacrifice. And this sacrifice is not only just putting fire and putting ghee in the fire, but also reciting the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, the glories of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And this is what we are trying to understand now. So the verse for today is the sages are giving proper respect to the speaker, reminding, hey,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry for interrupting.
yes,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
yes.
Yes, Prabhuji, could you please make me co-host? Then I could.
You are the host now, Santosh Mataji.
No, it's Jyoti. My
Jyoti.
screen
I
name
made
is
her the host.
Devika. You know
Hare
Devika?
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna.
So then I could just mute ourselves.
Oh, I just made Santosh Mataji as the host.
Okay. If you just make me co-host on Devika's name.
Let me see if I can do that.
Devika JY. Yeah, it's very
Santosh Mataji not there? Oh, she's also there.
Devika, yeah. Shall I put my hand up on the?
I can see you, but the problem is I lost my.
Oh, you're not the host, Prabhuji.
Because I made Santosh Mataji host.
Okay. Santosh Mataji, could you please make me co-host? Santosh Mataji? No, she can't hear me. Okay, sorry, Prabhuji. Sorry for interrupting.
Hare Krishna, I'm here.
Yeah.
Santosh Mataji, could you please make me co-host?
Hare
Okay.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Because you
Hare
are the
Hare.
host, so I can mute everyone. It's too much
Hare
disturbance.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama,
I've
Hare
made you the
Rama.
host now, Devika Mataji. Jyoti
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna,
Okay, one
Krishna, Hare
second. Let me check.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
You,
Rama.
okay, yes, thank you. I will
Krishna,
mute
Hare
everyone
Krishna,
now. And
Krishna,
then
Hare
Prabhuji, please unmute
Hare
yourself.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Wow.
Okay.
Always
Thank you.
hearing chanting is nice. We should be always chanting. But sometimes when we're discussing Bhagavatam, maybe we can just discuss Bhagavatam and then chant later. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Okay, so coming back to the verse, this is all the all the rishis who are assembled there, Uchuhu, they all saying in one voice, Sutta Goswami, you are the one who is completely free from all vice. The audience is also all of them free from all vice. But Sutta Goswami was again, there's more qualifications that you are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life. And we will discuss in a bit like why is this said. And in the Puranas and history as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. So Sutta Goswami is the son of Ramharshi Sutta. And as we have read, I don't know, we've not read yet Bhagavatam, it will be explained later on as part of the Mahabharat, Balramji did not want to participate in the Mahabharat war, so he went for a pilgrimage. On his pilgrimage, he happened to come to the Naimisharanya where the sages were assembled, and there was in not sufficient etiquette shown by the Romarshana. So Balaramji decided to say at the same time, just slain him. And then because the rishis said, oh, we just gave him the blessings of 1,000 years life, but now his life has been taken away. But the Balaramji wanted to give life back to Romarshana, but then they said, no, Lord, you don't have to do that. Father lives in the son, so, and Sutta Goswami is equally qualified, so he can be the speaker and you can bless him. So Sutta Goswami then took the seat, the Vyasasana, and then he was going to start speaking about the Bhagavatam. And there's some qualifications written here. So we just discussed why hearing and repeating is important. We should all do that to the degree we have understood. Whatever we understood, we should share with someone. It is a good practice to share with anyone, in the family, to your child, to your wife or husband, to your brother, sister, auntie, uncle, whoever you find. Just repeat whatever you little and you'll find amazing realizations and amazing experiences, because when we repeat Krishna within the heart, he's very pleased with us, and with his happiness, with his pleasing, we get pleased as well. So it's amazing science, the way it works is just super, so amazing. That's Prabhupada's and Mahaprabhu's instructions to all of us. To the extent we understood, we hear it and we understand it and we repeat it. Now, I'm going to show a presentation and then we'll discuss a few points. I hope you can all see the presentation now. And right, so the translation is divided into of the verse into 3 or 4 bullet points. First is you are completely, so this is the sages says to Sutta Goswami, as we said, you are completely free from all vices. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life and in the Puranas and the histories as well. For you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them previously. Now, this is the translation. Then I was saying before, Sutta Goswami, what is the history of him learned in the Puranas and Itihasas? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto itself, 7th chapter, there are 3 verses the Sutta Goswami himself is saying. He's saying in the text 5, Trayaduni, Kashyapa, Savarni, Akritavarna, Vaishampayana, and Haritha are the 6 masters of the Puranas. And the text is, he says, each of them studied one of the 6 anthologies of the Puranas from my father, Romaharshana, who was a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva. I became the disciple of these 6 authorities and thoroughly learned all their presentations of Puranic wisdom. And again in text 7, Romaharshana, a disciple of Vedavyas, divided the Puranas into 4 basic compilations. The sage Kashyapa and I, this is Sutta Goswami speaking, along with Savarni and Akritavarna, a disciple of Rama, this is not Lord Ram by the way, this is another sage, learned these 4 divisions. So this is in the 12th canto 7th chapter, the whole history of all the Puranas. How did Srila Vyasadeva compile the 4 Vedas, and then he did to his disciples, he handed over the further Puranas, and then they further churned it, they further wrote it again with their own disciples. Everything is given in there. So Sutta Goswami and his father Romaharshana Sutta, they were the pioneers of the Puranas. And as we was reading the text 6, his 6 disciples, they did the 6 anthologies of the Puranas. And this is a subject by itself, but just to give you a reference, that how Sutta Goswami is, he knows all the Puranas. And obviously the most important of all, that he was also present when Srila Shukadev Goswami was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So he was right there in that assembly. And Sutta Goswami is also considered a Shrutidhara. A Shrutidhara is one who once hears and then he can repeat as it is. So he had amazing photographic memory these days, I think we call it. But the proper term in Sanskrit is Shrutidhara. And we have many examples in our lineage, like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was like that. He could just read and just memorize in one read itself. There are many incidents when he was talking to one of the Britishers, some British clergyman, and they were discussing some scripture, and I think it was Bible. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quoted exactly, saying that if you read in this book at this page, on this para, on the third line, this is what is written. So that person was really amazed by the quality. So these are our the sages who have that capacity to hear and then repeat. It's only later on when the Bhagavatam, all the scriptures had to be compiled for people like us, as we read in the 9th verse, Nanda Sambandha Matayo, Nanda Bhagya Upadita. So that's the quality of Sutta Goswami, why where he has learned all those. And now we will discuss the first part of the purport. Prabhupada has given stress on the what is the most important qualification today's day and time. Like we can only learn so much. Someone says it takes 12 years to just perfect the Sanskrit grammar, at what age you start and what age you learn, and when do we learn all the scriptures, all the Vedas, all the Puranas, and when do we assimilate all that. It may take a long time, but it is made easier for people like us at the current time. But there are some qualifications for both the speakers and also the listeners. And a Goswami is the one who is free, or who is the owner of his own senses. Go is the senses. Swami is the owner or controller, who has got his senses in control. Yes, Goswami, or the bona fide representative of Sri Vyasadeva, must be free from all kinds of vices. And Prabhupada has explained the 4 vices of Kali Yuga, which is illicit connection with women, animal slaughter, intoxication, speculative gambling of all sorts. This is something which is already there in the Bhagavatam that we are observing. This is one of the 4 vows we take at the time of initiation also. And some say that this is pretty much is human, basically, to not have these qualities, but in Kali Yuga they are made as the compulsory because of the obvious reason. We all know what's happening in the end times. We don't have to discuss that. And the 4 vices of Kali Yuga is explained in the 17th chapter, Sutta Vacha, translation, district translation, given the time. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, or animal slaughter were performed. So Maharaj Parikshit, so happened to, he was always would go around his empire to see how the people in general are doing, how the religious practices are being observed by the people in general. As he was walking around the forest, he sees this Kali who was hurting a cow and a bull. And Parikshit Maharaj is cutting a long story short, but this will come in the future verses. Parikshit Maharaj then he wants to punish the Kali. But Kali says, I'm also one of your citizens, so I must have a right to live somewhere. And then Parikshit Maharaj gives him the right. Okay. Live in a place where there is gambling, there is drinking, there is prostitution, and animal slaughter. And then he asked for something more. He said, maybe some more places, because they said, well, Kali said in your in your kingdom, there is no such place where there is gambling, because Parikshit Maharaj was such a pious, religious king that in his kingdom, none of these things were happening at the time. He had such a strong administration or religious administration, so that he was given a place to live. Kali was given a place to live where there is gold. But the four regulative principles that we talk about, Prabhupada has put in our law book, ISKCON, that is actually part of Bhagavatam. And then we talk about what is the problem? Why should someone, Bhagavatam explains it all, why should these four principles should be observed? And in another verse later on, it says, in the age of Satya, the four legs were established by the four principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So it is, but it appears that three of you, this is the words of Parikshit Maharaj to the bull. It appears that three of your legs, the bull dharma, three of legs are broken due to rampant religion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. And then Prabhupada explained in the another purport, by pride, either artificial or real, the resultant action of austerity is spoiled. And this is very prominent in Kali Yuga, that we see so much pride in people in general. And why what is the impact of that? The impact of this too much pride, whether sometimes artificial, sometimes real. For some reason, in the sense, people may have some quality, may not have a quality. These days, Prabhupada says even the pauper are proud of their pennies. So everyone seems to be very proud. But the action of that is they can't perform austerities. So austerity must be there. Tapa is one of the dharma's leg. And by too much affection for female or male association, either ways, cleanliness is spoiled. So this is the shuchi, tapa, shuchi. These are the four legs we're talking about. By too much addiction to intoxication, mercy is spoiled. Yeah, this is the daya. And by too much lying propaganda, truthfulness is spoiled. And this is also seen, the lying is also pretty common in the speculative gambling, as we were discussing before. This is a similar impact of all these vices that people in Kali Yuga in general carry. And our purpose of Krishna Consciousness, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is to revive the Bhagavad Dharma so that it can save human civilization from falling prey to evils of all descriptions. So these are the main evils. We all know these, but it just is very elaborately explained in the Bhagavatam throughout, actually, in many places, just to remind us all the time why is it important. And it makes sense, as we say, because the four dharma, so the four legs of dharma, daya, suchi, tapa, and the truthfulness, satya. These four must be there. Without these four, can anyone say what will be the problem if we have, so apart from this, even if we ignore this, or if someone has it, or someone doesn't have it, what is the difference to people like us? Like, how does it make a difference in my life if what I'm from whom I'm hearing do not have these qualities or have the vices of the Kali Yuga? What is the problem? Can anyone think of anything? Any problem with that? Like, I can challenge it and say, well, it's all right. There are many scholars outside who learned Sanskrit, who learned scriptures, and they can write a lot, but there is something missing, which is they may be having one of these vices. And what is the problem for us with that? Can we hear from them as well, or we can't hear?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Venkat Prabhu.
I think I have experience with this. I think in my opinion, we shouldn't be hearing, because I was hearing one of the maybe speaker. He's not from ISKCON tradition. So he was not enforcing on the point of the meat eating and intoxication. So because he says that no, it's okay to have some kind of thing. He wasn't enforcing to the listeners, saying that this is not supposed to do it. So I think if the person is not following, he wouldn't be able to enforce us, and so we will take light. So
Yes.
that's what I had a experience.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Yes, because these people, they don't have their own sense control. They can't say that, okay, you also do that. So this is the problem. The basic sense control is not there, right? And what else is the problem then? If someone does not have a sense control, or someone who is not speaking the right Bhagavata philosophy,
the message will be diluted, it won't be potent.
yes, thank you. It will not be potent. And what is the potency we're talking about, Mataji? What is that potency?
Like, authorized, it's not coming from the parampara.
Yes, it is not bona fide, and we know it is not correct. You just said the correct thing. It's not potent. But when we say it's not potent,
it's diluted, because they're not practicing themselves.
Yes, I agree with that. What I was asking is, what is that potency that is missing?
It's the mercy.
It will.
Yes.
Mercy, which, helps us to, by hearing or reading Bhagavatam, to improve ourselves by that mercy. And they cannot give that mercy.
Yes. So, that's it. Because they can't give us and they can't transform our hearts. So we are also, we happen to be, for whatever reason, good, right or wrong reason, we are here in this time when the Kali Yuga is getting to its peak. And we are interested in transforming our lives. And the life transformation cannot happen from someone who is who is not free from these vices, because they are not able to go beyond the senses. They sit still within, they're not Goswami, they're Godas. If someone is Godas, they cannot give us the knowledge which is beyond our senses. So the whole of the Bhagavata philosophy is beyond our senses. It is what is called inconceivable. Yeah? What is inconceivable is something that can't be understood from the six senses, including the mind. And so it has to go beyond the senses. This is beyond our knowledge. That's why we refer to the scriptures, to the sadhus. And sadhus, because of their compassion, they are able to give us that knowledge because they have no selfish motive. They are completely selfless. And all these sages assembled there at Naimisharanya, sitting and performing sacrifice of 1,000 years. For what purpose? For our good. So they are worried. We read in the 10th verse or 9th verse, was it, where they are worried about. They're asking Sutta Goswami, what will happen? We can see that the people of Kali Yuga are Manda Sumanda Matayo, they are actually less intelligent, misguided, and they have misfortune, and on top of everything, they're already disturbed. And we can see that the situation in Kali Yuga is like that. It's getting very, very difficult for people in general to stay calm. Even us devotees, we have to be, only because of the programs that we have in the morning, the evening, the afternoon, chanting Bhagavatam. It keeps us busy outside of the material world. So we're pretty much trying to get to the to become Krishna conscious. In that effort itself, we're getting some relief. Otherwise, everyone is disturbed. Yeah? So that potency of giving us the Krishna prem, or establishing that the sincerity in our heart to learn more from Krishna or about Krishna, is not established without that. And because of that, other problem we have is, because people who are not following the prescriptions, they don't have the potency, and then the resultant is we cannot have any faith in them. The problem is when we deal with someone, someone asks, okay, why do we follow Krishna consciousness? What is the difference? Why do we do this? Can anyone answer this question? Like, what is bringing us that faith in Krishna consciousness that we are following it? We're chanting for 2 hours in the morning. On a Sunday evening, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. What is giving us that faith? Can anyone answer
Because
that?
it's coming through the parampara from
Yeah.
Krishna right down. So it's coming from authentic source, from the creator himself. So it is very, we can't get anything better than that. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Any more answers to that? Like, why? I mean, anyone can say, well, if I am outside misplaying a devil's advocate here and say, so what, I'm all right, I'm living a cool life, then what do you say? Like, what's making it special?
Because we are following the 4 regulative principles, isn't it?
Yes. I mean,
Which
there are many following these types of things as well, to be honest. Someone can say, well, I'm also, why do we follow? Okay, if you follow, maybe I can follow. But
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare
yes,
Krishna.
yes.
It gives us inner peace, like inner happiness and satisfaction within ourselves.
Fantastic. So we actually, not only that, we are hearing and we have the understanding that is coming from Krishna himself, which is all correct. But the bigger thing, why we're doing it is because we are experiencing the joy, the taste of pudding is in eating. We're tasting that. That's why we're here at on Sunday night to discuss, because when we discuss about Krishna, we feel enlightened, we feel enlivened, we feel happy, we feel satisfied, we feel peaceful, all those qualities which are, against the Kali Yuga quality of Upadita, we said, very disturbed. The disturbance goes away. When we experience that, we talk about Krishna, the disturbance goes away, our faith gets more and more established, and we do more and more. So that faith, otherwise, without someone who's following these 4 regulatory principles, they cannot give us that faith, because there will be cheating propensity there, and that will not transform our hearts. So this is the difference and the problem as well. And other thing is the spotless character. The 2 or 3 books that we discussed. The 2 books is Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhu has given 3 books to study: Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what we see is the spotless characters of the 2 persons who are hearing the scriptures. One is the Arjun, who's asking the questions to Krishna, and that's Bhagavad Gita. And for Bhagavatam, this is Parikshit Maharaj asking to Srila Sukadeva Goswami, who is speaking. So both the listeners and the speaker, they are both spotless characters. So if we talk about, we discussed a little bit about Parikshit Maharaj. So he was so pure-hearted. I mean, just imagine, for Krishna saved him within the womb of his mother Uttara. So Krishna enters into womb of Uttara to protect Parikshit. Yeah, so he's so important. He's so much loved by Krishna. Yeah, so he must be something really special. He had such qualities. When he was cursed to die within 7 days, he had sufficient piety and sufficient dharma and sufficient knowledge of scriptures and power, potency, that he could have actually refuted the curse. But his character was, if something like that happened, he was very sad that he did something incorrect. And he said, yes, I should be punished. I did that. So although it was a death snake, which means nothing, if you see that way, because he was the emperor of the world and he was maintaining the world very nicely. The religion was preserved. But he did not deserve that kind of curse. But his character was, okay, this was my mistake, such a minor mistake, but he was happy to accept it. He just, at the same time, and as we go on in the verse, we'll see, he just immediately gives up his family, his kingdom, his palace, his horses, his properties, his everything, his children, and he goes on the Ganga and he sits there and he's going to just fast until the D-Day. And he's going to just sit there asking this. And because he was such a great personality, all the sages, when they realized the news spread, even without internet, you can imagine, the news spread there, and everyone's gathered there to see what's happening next. There's Vyasadev there, there's Narad Muni there, Vasishtha there, Durvasa there, all the great sages at the time they assembled there. And he's going to ask us some questions. And Shukadeva Goswami then appears at the scene. And he's young, and look at that, he's sitting there. He's got, bluish body, is also Krishna color. And he's going to give the talk. And Shukadeva Goswami is obviously spotless. We have heard from other devotees previously how spotless his character was. And equally Parikshit Maharaj. So the speaker and the listener and the hearing both have that spotless character. Then the right, the frequency matches. When we tuning the radio, I don't know how much we listen to radio, but if you have the right frequency, then the sound is very clear. Similarly, when there is that relationship, both the person who is speaking, the person who is hearing, they have the right connection. They are the same level in one sense, because they are beyond the vices, beyond the normal, way of life, what we call normal today. So the mercy flows, as Mataji was saying, the mercy flows from the guru to the disciple, and that is the character that Parikshit Maharaj had. And there are many examples of his, to the extent that he's punishing Kali, and at the same time, out of mercy, he gives Kali also life, because when Kali begs for the life, he gives the life back. So he still has the compassion, the mercy. And he performs austerity, like for 7 days, he was not drinking or he wasn't eating anything. At no stage he was feeling hungry or thirsty. So that is the kind of austerity he was willing to perform. And he was willing to give up his life for the purpose of dharma. So this is the great lineage or great fortune that we have to learn and to hear this conversation between these two great souls. And this is Parikshit Maharaj. We can talk many, many hours. And if you go to Arjun's that we've been discussing for many sessions, if you see Arjun's character, who was hearing Bhagavad Gita from Lord himself, he was very austere. He was living in the forest. They were banned to the forest for 12 years and 1 year of the incognito. And they were living very simple, like they had nothing. They were kings, but they performed a lot of austerities, living in they were keeping the dharmic principle of, because his elder brother, as whatever the situation was, and they've been exiled to the forest, they just live there. No fighting back. Okay, this is wrong and this and that. They just accept it. They go on. This takes a lot of austerity to do it. And he would perform tapasya, and he did lots of tapasya, even to pray to Lord Shiva. So he got the Pashupati, the astra. He was given, especially because Lord Shiva knew that he will not misuse it. So that was one quality. Then with the austerity itself, he was taken to the higher planetary system, to the Swargaloka, to the Indra's planet, and the Indra gave him so many weapons. And he was also, it is said, he is a Gudakesha. Gudakesha means he's able to also, he was able to win over the sleep. And he'd learn to shoot in the dark. There's a story like that as well. And then out of mercy, so he had the austerity, he had the mercy. Yeah, the mercy was that when the Mahabharata was about to start, when he looks at all his relatives, what is he feeling? He's feeling the compassion in his heart. Okay, how we're going to fight this war, and what will happen? Krishna, a lot of these people will lose their lives. So and then he loses, his temper, he loses his senses. He becomes, his mouth is drying up. He says, "Siddhanti mama gatrani," and his Gandiva is sleeping out. And so he is feeling so much compassion, so much mercy for all the people who would die in the war. And that was at the bodily level, but if you see from his character point of view, he was very, very compassionate to everyone. That's the nature of a devotee. And cleanliness. So just imagine, so he was this is another story, cleanliness, we were saying, like illicit connections. When he was in the Swargaloka, Indra's Amravati, and there's this heavenly lady, Urvashi, she wanted to associate with Arjun. Arjun declines the proposal. He says, no, you're like my mother, because I remember hearing from my forefathers that you were once my forefather Pururava's wife. So how can I associate with you? You're like my mother. To the extent Urvashi was so angry, cursed to curse him. She cursed him, but he was okay to accept it. He wanted a solid character. So this is the character that someone develops to be able to receive the spiritual knowledge from Lord Himself. So this is how powerful these personalities are. And I'm just conscious of time. And in our own, our own Prabhupada, he performed so much austerities even in India. If you read his Lilamrit, then we know how much austerity he did perform in India itself, going around at that age and begging for a place in the cargo ship to come to US. And for what purpose? For all the austerity, for what purpose? For mercy. He was feeling compassionate for people. He had the order of a spiritual master, but he also was compassionate when he came to the Boston harbor, and then he was taken to one of the places. Devotees say that he had tears in his eyes when he saw people in general, all the tall buildings, and he was thinking, how they're suffering so much. He felt so much compassion, and he was so clean. He had such fatherly relation to all his disciples. He loved his disciples so much. The disciples used to say they felt like love they did not receive from parents. They received so much love from Srila Prabhupada. And he was so Abhaya Charana, means he's fearless, he's truthful. Srila Prabhupada made the presentation of Bhagavata philosophy without any reservation against his own god brothers, so many people raising so many issues, but his only single motivation was compassion, to share Krishna with everyone and to present Krishna's teachings, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, as it is, without any personal motivation. So he had no hetu, ahetuki apratihata yayatmastu prasidati. That is Srila Prabhupada. So these are the characters that we have seen, and we're seeing them. And we have so many other, we come across so many wonderful devotees even now who have this spotless character. That's the quality that is needed to give us the knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada has written all these purports, so he has the quality to give that knowledge to us, and that can transform the hearts. And we hear from the devotees who has that same quality, who has the same qualifications, and they also transform our hearts. So then they develop that interest in our hearts to learn more about Krishna, to chant, to the extent we're just chanting all the time. 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, Sunday, we had so many Matajis chanting at this time as well. This is the amazing Bhagavata philosophy. And the point I was trying to make before is, and this character of these great souls give us the confidence that we are not being cheated. There are scientists outside, every scientist, there are so many stories all over the place that every scientist, so-called scientist, has one way or the other cheated. For example, they will take someone else's discoveries or research work, and they will put in their own name. It's all over the place. There's a website as well, like we'll be amazed, someone referred me that. And that was saying how many of these scientists have done that, who have cheated the people with not giving the credit to the right people or not presenting the science in the correct way. It's all over the place. It's for the single reason that they don't have the character to do good to the people in general. They don't have the intention. And if someone has it, which is great, then that affects, that gives us some enlightenment and some encouragement to follow the spiritual life. So this is the power. So we all obviously, and we have to, as Prabhupada said, we have to repeat this message as well to everyone. So we also try to imbibe these qualities and to become qualified. We pray and then we become qualified to be able to speak and share the knowledge that we are receiving from the parampara. And I was just going to touch 5 minutes and we go back to in the question answer. integrity. So this is the whole idea of character is what integrity. So even in today's world, Warren Buffett says the wonderful thing he says, we look for three things when we hire people. This even in the corporate world, this is happening. We look for intelligence, we look for initiative or energy, and we look for integrity. Yeah, integrity is one with the character, one who has integrity, that's the character. And if they don't have the latter, the first two will kill you, because if you're going to get someone without integrity, you want them lazy and dumb. Because there's no integrity, then even the intelligence is no use. He goes on further to say a few interesting points. He says that Buffett asserts it is a clear non-negotiable. When you hire someone with integrity, it's a central pillar that holds all three together, or the structure collapses. Without integrity, intelligence and knowledge, everything is useless. Integrity, what makes it hard to question a person's decision. His or her actions are open for everyone to see, and you can rest assured that he or she will use good judgment. This is the power of integrity or the character. In tight collaborative spaces, colleagues of such hires will quickly see them as dependable. This is one of the qualities that Prabhupada said, all my disciples, every member of my society is a gentleman or a gentlewoman. Yeah. And what is the quality of them? They're dependable. So the devotees are dependable. They can be trusted with. This is a big thing. Today's time, trust anyone is so difficult. But if you find some devotees to whom we can trust, it gives us so much relief and so much happiness. That's a basic need, because we want to be trusted, and we want to trust others. It's a basic human quality, attribute. But we find someone with integrity who's dependable, accountable. They are accepted everywhere, in all places, in the devotees or outside devotees, in general world outside. This is the quality that we all want to develop, so that we become eligible and qualified to receive the Bhagavata knowledge. Hare Krishna. I think got 10 minutes to discuss any further questions or answers. Comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I just wanted to know, this is just out of interest. Prabhupada translated Bhagavatam, right? Yes. So when he translated Bhagavatam, was there a purport there before, or explanation that?
Yes, so many of our, so he was referring to Sridhar Swami, and there are acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and there are many other acharyas who have written. Jiva Goswami has also written commentary on Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada has collated all of these, and he has given his own purpose to the Bhagavatam. So he's done word by word synonyms. See how much effort Prabhupada has put in the Bhagavad Gita. This Bhagavad Gita, so many verses, 18,000 verses, and every verse, to the extent he translated, it word to word synonyms. How much effort has gone in for us to also read and understand the meaning. So it is very clear that he's just presenting the philosophy as it is. He's not taking out anything, not adding anything. It's just as it is. That's Prabhupada. Yeah. So he has effort others, and he's given us just nectar from all the Acharya's philosophy, and he's given us the best medicine that we need.
It's an immense study that none of us can.
Yeah, it's amazing. It takes how many years for us to just read through it, and Prabhupada has done it all. And not only this, he did so many other books, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's just, even if you just understand how much is given, how much, it is not even humanly possible for anyone to achieve what he's done. Absolutely.
No, so he's not discussing it. He's just doing it single person, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he was speaking on the dictaphone and dictating, and his disciples were typing and editing and doing everything that's needed.
Because normally when we write a book, somebody writes a book, they have 5, 6, 7, 8 people review it before it's edited so many times.
In 10 years' time, Prabhupada has done all this. He's translated the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many other books. What Gita is, and then opened so many 100+ temples, 10,000+ disciples, and there was no internet at the time. He was doing through the letters. He responded to every single letter that was sent to him. everyone got a response. So just imagine how someone can do so much in days.
And when communication wasn't easy.
Communication not easy.
Typewriter, recorders, they didn't have all the.
They didn't have any of these. Yeah, there used to be telegrams and all sorts of things in the past. Just imagine. So somebody would is like, Prabhupada isn't so much. You can't even do through internet so much. Okay, there's some more questions there. Regarding the 4 regulations, Jay Prabhu is asking, why is the pillar of truthfulness followed by a vow not to gamble? Why is it not followed by a vow not to lie? Gambling has the tendency, all these 4 vices, there's a tendency to break these rules because it just naturally, once someone is intoxicated, everything else begins after that. That they lose their mind basically because their intense desire to do these types of things just takes over the brains, and then it becomes impossible for them to follow the religious principle. And gambling is one of that. Gambling is extreme. Someone nature, they can't be dependable because they just don't know. They just can't follow that. So it is, so it's not lie. It's the same, vow not to lie. Why is it not followed by a vow not to lie? Which is interesting. But this is the quality of a devotee, that we are always truthful. It says Bhagavad Gita, it says many places. Truthfulness is important because devotees have to be dependable, to be reliable, to be trustworthy. If someone is lying, that's a basic problem. It's the nature of someone to not lie. That's a character quality. iPhone. Maharaj Parikshit is a descendant of Arjun. But who are Shukadeva Goswami, Siddha Goswami? Why are they important in Bhagavad? Oh, Hare Krishna. So Shukadeva Goswami is the son of Srila Vyasadeva. So he's a great personality in that lineage. If your question is more about the lineage, because he's talking about descendants. And Sutta Goswami, as I was saying before, he is the son of Romharshana Sutta, who is a disciple of Vyasadeva. So they're all great personalities. And that's why they're important, because Shukadeva Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam first to Parikshit Maharaj. And Sutta Goswami was in that same assembly when he was hearing what Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Parikshit. And he, as we said, he had the amazing memory, Shrutidhara he was called, and he could repeat the Bhagavatam the way it is to the Shaunaka, other rishis. These are the great people. They're very, as we go through the Bhagavatam, you will realize how important they are, because they are the main, if you say they're the main characters, they are the speakers of Bhagavatam. Any other conversation, discussion, comments, questions, complaints?
Prabhuji, also about, Kali will reside in those 4 places. So is that what's happening now?
Very much, Mataji. This is the example. This Bhagavatam was spoken 5,000 years ago at least. And we can see it today. And what is the outcome of Kali? There is so much disturbance, so much violence, so much nonsense, right? We can't even talk about those things. You can see the example, and that's everywhere there is these predominating, these vices present. You'll find the presence of Kali, and the presence of Kali means there is always disturbance, there is violence, there is exploitation, all sorts of problems for the innocent people.
What I'm thinking is, most leaders eat meat.
Yes.
And then they don't have the integrity or.
Exactly, that is the problem. This is the Bhagavatam 12th canto speaks all this. What is the problem with the modern so-called administrators, or they're not Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas were the administrators before, and they, like Parikshit Maharaj was Kshatriya, Arjuna was Kshatriya. They were Raja Rishis, they were Rishis, the king Rishi, the Raja is the king, and the Rishis, they're sages. They're not ordinary people. Today's day and time, it's the whole, we cannot even talk about this. The whole thing is run by the Shudras and the Vaishyas, and they're misguided. They're not guided by the people who are selfless. So all in the previous yugas, even a few hundred years ago, like this story, Maharaj Prataprudra, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we read about him. So he was such pious king. Shivaji Maharaj in Maharashtra was such a pious king. There were so many kings in India. They were so pious, and they would always consult a sage who they know is selfless, and they would give the right advice, which is good for the king, for the kingdom people in general, which is uplifting. From this Bhuloka, we can either go to the upper planetary system, or we can go to the lower planetary system. Yeah. And we can go beyond upper planetary system. So the Bhagavatam is beyond all of these upper planetary system and direct, the Prema Pumartha Mahan. Prabhu says that this Bhagavatam is there are four arthas: dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and the fifth is the prema. So this is Bhagavatam gives us the prema, the Krishna prema. That's why it says the highest. Yeah, and today's time we don't have that, so that we can see more and more, as we was reading Bhagavad Gita, degradation of the human life means just living animal life. That means just going the lower planetary system with lower and lower qualities, just going down and down and down, which is very sad. And that's why Prabhupada feels the compassion. He writes it all, and obviously all of us, we go out, distribute books and preach to others, give Krishna's teachings to everyone, and share the compassion that we have received with others.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a lovely session. Yes, the Mataji was pointing out about Kali Yuga and its faults. Yes, Kali Yuga is going to degrade even more as we go into the next 100, 200, 500 years. But in the Bhagavatam, it is specifically stated there is one good thing about the age of Kali, which is to chant the Maha Mantra, by which anyone, even though they don't understand Sanskrit, they don't understand the meaning, but just by chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra, they can go back home in this very life. So that's the good thing about Kali. So the Lord is very merciful. And so he has sent Prabhupada through the blessings of Bhakti Saraswati Maharaj for all of us. So let's utilize that opportunity.
Jai, thank you so much. Brilliant point. Bhagavatam says, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan asti ek mahan guna. There is the ocean of, this ocean of faults in Kali Yuga, but there's one great quality, which is the Krishna Naam, the Krishna Kirtana Krishna, the name of Krishna chanting itself is given to us so freely. Mahaprabhu has even distributed these fruits to everyone. He's asking us to distribute more and more, and made it so easy and so accessible to us. Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful point. That ends in a positive note. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So have a great week, Krishna conscious week ahead. So I think tomorrow is Monday again. A lot of you will go back to work. And obviously we'll have Bhagavatam again tomorrow night and every night. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Prabhuji, thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji. Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.